Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Frank Leboeuf. Plenty going on today. Later in the show, we'll be reacting to the news that Inzaghi has left Inter Milan. But we kick things off with a big discussion that we had just a few days ago. Will Bruno stay or go? We got our answer today. As I've always said, I'd be willing to do it if Manchester United thought so. I spoke to coach Ruben Amorim, who, throughout that period, was very annoying to me not to go. The club said they would not be willing to sell me, only if I wanted to leave, that it was not a financial issue. Then I spoke to my wife and family, and she asked me what my personal goals were in my career. I want to maintain myself at the highest level, playing in the big competitions, and I feel capable of it. Joining us now, James Olley, Ian Darke, and I suppose a very smug Don Hutchison. Don, were you right?
I was right. I called it a couple of nights ago. We'd had this fantastic debate and argument about Bruno. Should he go? Should he take the money? Should he stay? And I was very adamant if I was Bruno, I'd have the conversation with Ruben Amorim and knock on his door and find out what the plans are before you make that decision. Then all of a sudden you see Matheus Cunha signed. They've been linked with Brian Mbeumo today. So obviously when he's had that conversation with the manager's told him that he wants to stay because... Let's get it right. I mean, Bruno Fernandes has come out today and said all the right things. And one of the best quotes, I think he said, it was the easy thing to do was to go and take the move and take the money. The hardest thing to do is to stay and be part of the rebuild. And I think he's had that conversation with the manager. And the manager's convinced him that the best thing is to stay. And listen, Al Hilal will be around for 1,000 years. They'll never be as big as Man United. And he's club captain.
You would have said you would have gone, Frank.
Yeah. And I'm respect his decision. I think it's a nice decision because it shows that football matters more than money. And I say when you're over 30 and you have an offer like that, you have the right to decide to go for the money because you have proven throughout your career that you love football and you worked for like a decade at the best level, and you have the choice. And if you decide to leave the highest level, I think it's just respectable, and he decides to stay. Well done. Well, don't forget that he's not going to be playing for free. We discussed about that before. He's going to get like 6-7 million net a season, which is huge, for a normal person. And he's not going to get 200 million, but it's going to be okay for the rest of his life. And he can keep his pride. I think he has the right to think that way.
Ian, I have my alerts on every time you send out a message on X. And the latest one, of course, was about Bruno Fernandes and how Manchester United, despite 100 million, couldn't afford to let him go. They've got their way.
Yeah, they couldn't afford to let him go. He's by far and away their best player. He scores goals. He makes goals. He's the inspiration of the team. He was the light in all the gloom at Manchester United this season. I mean, and he's got this fantastic offer to go to Saudi Arabia, or he had that offer. He's going to get the offer again when he gets to about 32, 33. So it's not a once-in-a-lifetime job. He knows that as well. And he wants to be part of this rebuild at Manchester United. For once, they've had a good week. Bruno's staying. Looks like they're going to... Well, they have got Cunha from Wolves. And looks like they might get Mbeumo as well. So there's, an attacking spearhead taking shape for Manchester United. No, the other thing is, they'd have got £100 million for him, but they'd have needed to spend 70 of it to replace him. And how could they have replaced him when they don't have European football to offer a top player?
So, James, what does this mean for Manchester United going forward? If they can afford to turn down 100 million, have they got lots of money, secret money, under the bed or something?
Well, no, I mean, clearly they briefed quite heavily that they were running low on cash and that PSR compliance was an issue, and you wonder whether maybe they've sort of overplayed that a little bit to get a head start in the market. I mean, I have to disagree with a little bit of what's been said already in that, well, two things. The joke reaction to this is, well, if Bruno Fernandes wants to play at the highest level and go for the biggest competitions, then he has to leave Manchester United because he's not going to go for that at Manchester United. They're not in Europe next season. They're not going to challenge for the Premier League. I'd be interested to see if a top European club came in for him this summer and offered the kind of money that United would want to sell him, whether his reaction would have been the same and not necessarily dropping down in terms of the standard of football to go to the Saudi Pro League. But I still say the issue with Bruno Fernandes is this. If Ruben Amorim wants to play 3-4-2-1 or a variation of that, where does Bruno Fernandes play? He doesn't play as one of the number 10s. He's not great in that system. And if they're signing Mbeumo and they've obviously already got Cunha, then those two 10s are filled. He's not a centre forward. And when he plays as a central midfielder, you're relying an awful lot on that other central midfielder alongside him to do all of the defensive work and really kind of counteract the fact that Fernandes obviously wants to get on the ball and make things happen. And we saw really in the Europa League final that when he played in that position, in a 2 with Casemiro, didn't really work. And it was quite easy for a team like Tottenham, who were not necessarily renowned for this, to just sit in, wait and pick them off on the counter-attack. And look, I mean, yes, I understand the argument about the goals and assists, and clearly he's dug them out time and again this season, but it has very much felt as though it's just give the ball to Bruno and let's see what happens and let's kind of muddle through to the summer. Well, that isn't the plan going forward. They have to have a coherent system going forward. And I'm just not quite sure with the players the player they've signed, the other one they're bringing in, you assume they're going to look at a centre forward as well. Where exactly does Fernandes fit into this team and how does the balance work? I feel that's just a big question for Amorim.
Don?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. I think he plays alongside Darke. Darke will provide the legs. Casemiro won't be there long term. And then all of a sudden, I think Ahmad's the question here. Where does Ahmad play? I think what will happen in the short term is I think Mbeumo will play as a number 9. Then they've got Cunha and Ahmad who plays as 2 sort of false 10s. I think with Bruno, he's one of these players where you play him and you get him on the ball, and whether it's a quarterback role as a number 8 to start all the moves off, because sometimes that's very important. And I take the point against Tottenham in the final, but Bruno can't do it all. He can't play as a number 8 and a number 10 and score goals and be a number 9, track back and do the lot. That's why he needs help. That's why the Sands have been brought in. And I get the feeling Man United are not going to stop. It might be this window and the next couple of windows that have convinced him to stay. But in terms of where he plays, 100% he will be the first name on the team sheet, guaranteed.
Well, the question is simple. The answer is simple. I really think that Amorim didn't ask Bruno Fernandes to stay, to put him on the bench. So he's going to find a solution. He's going to find a way to make him play, and the best way, because he needs him. And to answer to James' wondering, I'm not sure that any other club, because the question at first was, do you go to Saudi Arabia or do you stay to Manchester United? Because do you have any other choices? The price tag to sell him would have been too huge for most clubs. And
no one's paying 100 million for him.
Exactly. He's 30 years old, with all due respect, with the wage that he has. Maybe he wouldn't have any other choices. So the question was in between Saudi Arabia and Manchester United. And he's going to play at the highest level because it's a Premier League. So that's the highest level. We're not talking about the highest results and position in the table, but he hasn't got any other choices. If he wants to play for a big club, Manchester is a big club with bad results, but it's still a big club.
Manchester United with open arms. Welcome back, Jadon Sancho.
Yes, that's one way of putting it. Yeah, I mean, Jadon Sancho, what a sort of fall from grace, really. Signed for United, I think it was £73 million. Had his choice of clubs at that stage. A lot of European top sides were in for him. And now he's got to a point where a club has paid £5 million not to sign him.
Wow.
He's really at a crossroads in his career. And I have some sympathy with him in the sense that there's obviously been a lot of change at Chelsea. I wouldn't necessarily say that Maresca's style probably suits him as much as maybe it could do. He kind of started well there, he ended well there, but the large bulk in between was not great. And I mean, look, my understanding is Chelsea were open to trying to get a deal done to sign him. Obviously, the fee wasn't an issue. They'd agreed a £25 million fee with United when they agreed the loan last summer. The issue was wages, and he's on north of £300,000 a week at Manchester United. And that's the crazy. Chelsea average wage, I know everyone talks about Chelsea and the 8, 9, 10-year contracts, but what they've done quite well is the average wage is actually pretty low there. To Jadon Sancho, that was completely incompatible with where he is now because he's already earning a massive wage. And ultimately, Sancho decided, I think, that he didn't want to take that huge cut. Chelsea weren't willing to compromise on their structure. And so back he goes to Manchester United with a very uncertain future.
Like watching him at Chelsea, 5, 6 out of 10, pretty much every game. There was nothing from Jadon Sancho which made you stand up and think, wow, this kid is the one that we grew up with watching, light up Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, that's crazy, a crazy nightmare for Jadon Sancho, I have to say, because I mean the guy who decided to give him that money when he left Dortmund, and the agent who decided to agree, in fact ruined his career. Because the solution is impossible right now. Because the wage is too big, because of his performances and the pressure is not possible for him. That guy is in no man's land where nobody wants him. So he cannot even go back. Well, yeah, he could, sacrificing a lot of money.
But it will be the first time he's played under Amorim, so that would be something that they're trying to obviously work out.
Yeah, but he showed before that he couldn't handle the pressure of being in a big club. That's the thing. Dortmund was kind of, with all due respect, you have to take everything. Dortmund, you feel that people, they take care of the players. Manchester United, even they take care of players, they launch you. You have to go there. The pressure is big, it's worldwide. So you have to perform immediately, which didn't happen to him, like didn't happen to many others. And the fact is, you cannot go back to the past and go back to the basics, unless Jadon Sancho say, oh, you know what? I don't get the money that I deserve. I cut my money in maybe in 4, and I go to play for another club, and I rebuild my career. That's the only way that guy can have a decent career. But now, if he's stubborn getting that money, which I think he will, because we wouldn't, his career is ruined for me.
Don?
Yeah, I think there's two ways to look at this when you talk Jadon Sancho. Either he got mismanaged at Man United and they didn't get the best out of him, or that shirt was too heavy for him and it weighed heavy for him and he couldn't cope playing for a massive club. I mean, James has nailed it in terms of the contract that Chelsea wanted to try and put him on. At the same time, don't forget Man United are paying his wages to play for Chelsea. So all of a sudden, when they come back for pre-season, they've got the Jadon Sancho issue to sort, they've got the Marcus Rashford to sort, they've got the Anthony scenario to sort as well. Yeah. So there's quite a few dilemmas and quite a few problems for Ruben Amorim to try and sort out in that pre-season. So I guess the 3 guys that I mentioned have got no future. It'll be one of them where the 3 guys will probably go on loan somewhere, but it'll still be a case of Man United paying half of their wages somewhere.